Human beings are endlessly fascinating because no two minds, no two experiences, and no two personalities are truly alike. Yet society perpetually clings to this idea of normal. George Carlin, in his trademark sharp and humorous style, peeled back the veil on this illusion, exposing how arbitrary and meaningless the concept really is. From the moment we are born, we are bombarded with messages about what is acceptable, expected, or conventional, what behaviors, tastes, and thoughts qualify as normal. We are told to fit into molds, to dress a certain way, pursue certain careers, adopt specific routines, and hold prescribed social values. But when you step back and examine it, the so-called normal person is nothing more than a collective fiction. There is no universally consistent standard. For every socially extroverted individual, there is a quiet introvert who navigates life with equal depth and complexity. For every rule follower, there is a rebel quietly questioning every norm in their mind. Carlin's observation is simple yet profound. The very definition of normal shifts depending on who defines it, and anyone attempting to measure themselves against that shifting target will inevitably feel incomplete or inadequate. The irony, Carlin pointed out, is that this constant striving to be normal makes us even less normal, because the pressure to conform forces suppression of the traits that make us uniquely human, our quirks, our oddities, our creative impulses, and the very aspects of ourselves that would otherwise shine if allowed to flourish freely. In essence, society's obsession with normality is a trap, a never-ending cycle of comparison and self-doubt, masking the vibrant, chaotic, and wonderfully unpredictable reality of human behavior. No two people truly think alike. No two people respond to life in the same way, and no universal definition can capture the kaleidoscope of human existence. Thus, Carlin challenges us to reject the pursuit of normalcy and embrace the truth. The idea of a normal person is a convenient illusion created to make people feel comfortable with the unpredictable, untamed variety of real human life. One of Carlin's most compelling points about the non-existence of normal people lies in how human beings are wired, psychologically, emotionally, and biologically, to be inconsistent, contradictory, and at times downright irrational. We possess layers upon layers of desires, fears, motivations, and impulses that often contradict one another, creating internal landscapes that are as complex as they are unpredictable. A single individual can display traits that society might label normal in one context, yet behave in ways that defy every expectation in another. Consider the quiet intellectual who secretly dreams of adventure, or the confident leader who struggles with private insecurities. Carlin's humor often exposed this duality. He would laugh at the absurdity of humans trying to neatly categorize themselves or others when, in reality, no one fits the labels assigned to them. Life itself is messy, and our personalities mirror that chaos. Attempts to create boxes for human behavior, rigid social norms, cultural stereotypes, or even psychological archetypes fail because they cannot account for the dynamism inherent in each person. Every choice we make, every habit we form, every thought we harbor is filtered through the lens of individual history, biology, environment, and circumstance, making the idea of a universally normal individual mathematically impossible. In practice, striving for normalcy is akin to chasing a mirage. The closer we get, the more we realize that it is an illusion that vanishes upon scrutiny. Carlin's insight encourages a radical acceptance of this complexity. Instead of judging ourselves and others against an arbitrary standard, he invites us to recognize the beauty of contradiction, the value of eccentricity, and the power of embracing what makes us unpredictable. Normality in Carlin's universe is boring. Authenticity, even when messy or socially awkward, is liberating. By acknowledging that no one is truly normal, we are liberated to see human beings as dynamic, fascinating, and endlessly creative, rather than as rigid archetypes constrained by social expectations. Perhaps the most enduring message in Carlin's reflection on normality is that the absence of normal people should not be feared, but celebrated. The very traits that society often labels as strange, unusual, or inappropriate are often the same traits that drive innovation, creativity, humor, empathy, and courage. History and culture are shaped not by the normal, but by the outliers, the visionaries, the eccentrics, the people unafraid to deviate from the expected path. Think of inventors who challenged conventional wisdom, artists who broke every rule, or comedians like Carlin himself, whose brilliance lies in observing and speaking truths that others ignore. In personal relationships, those who embrace their quirks often inspire others to do the same, fostering authenticity and deeper connection. Carlin's critique of normalcy is a reminder that society's desire for conformity suppresses individuality and diminishes the richness of human experience. By rejecting the myth of the normal person, we free ourselves to explore our genuine selves, to make choices aligned with our values, and to appreciate the unique qualities of others without judgment. The world becomes more interesting, more colorful, and infinitely more human when we accept that everyone is inherently irregular, unpredictable, and wonderfully complex. In essence, Carlin's philosophy is a call to courage, to abandon the exhausting pursuit of normality, to question the arbitrary rules imposed by culture, and to embrace life in all its eccentric, chaotic glory. Normal people, he reminds us, do not exist, and that is not a limitation. It is an invitation to celebrate the strange, brilliant, and authentic humans we all are. One of the most striking insights Carlin shared is how society relentlessly categorizes people, as if human beings could ever be neatly labeled or sorted into tidy boxes. From childhood, we are taught to fit into categories: good or bad, smart or lazy, popular or weird. Schools, workplaces, social media, and even casual conversation constantly reinforce these divisions, giving the illusion that some people are normal while others are outliers. Carlin's humor exposes the absurdity of this obsession. Human beings are infinitely complex, and any attempt to classify them using rigid categories is doomed to fail. Consider the contradictions inherent in everyday life. Someone may excel academically, yet struggle with interpersonal relationships, or appear confident outwardly while battling self-doubt privately. These inconsistencies are not flaws. They are the natural product of being human. The more society pressures us to conform to a standard, the more we suppress the very traits that make us interesting, unique, and authentic. Carlin would argue that the obsession with normalcy reflects society's discomfort with unpredictability and the unknown. By insisting that people behave a certain way, society attempts to create order in an inherently chaotic and dynamic system, human behavior. Yet the truth is that this order is imaginary, a social construct meant to create comfort rather than reflect reality. Normal people don't exist because humans are too complex, too varied, and too inherently contradictory to fit any universal mold. Accepting this frees us to explore individuality without judgment and to see eccentricity not as deviation, but as an essential part of life's richness and diversity. When we stop trying to categorize and start appreciating human complexity, life becomes more colorful, relationships more authentic, and the world infinitely more fascinating. Carlin's genius lay not only in his observations, but in his ability to use humor as a lens to reveal uncomfortable truths about human nature. Comedy, for him, was never just about making people laugh. It was a mirror reflecting the absurdities, contradictions, and hypocrisies of society. When he spoke about the myth of normal people, his humor illuminated the truth. The closer you look at someone, the more quirks, inconsistencies, and contradictions you find. This is not something to ridicule, it's something to embrace. Humor, as Carlin demonstrated, is a tool for seeing human behavior without pretense. It allows us to acknowledge our own flaws and the absurdities around us without despair. The comedians, the storytellers, and the social commentators who follow in Carlin's footsteps use humor to challenge the myth of normality, showing that the pressure to conform is not only unrealistic but laughably futile. Every human being carries contradictions. We are selfish yet generous, fearful yet brave, silly yet profound. Comedy highlights these contrasts, encouraging us to recognize the absurdity in trying to fit into a preordained definition of normal. Carlin's approach teaches a vital lesson. The path to authenticity is through acknowledgement of our contradictions, and laughter is a way to make peace with them. By laughing at the absurdity of societal expectations, we free ourselves from the impossible pursuit of normality and create room to explore our quirks, eccentricities, and unique perspectives. In a world that constantly pressures individuals to conform, humor becomes a revolutionary act, a declaration that individuality is not only inevitable, but essential. In essence, Carlin's comedy transforms a heavy truth into an accessible revelation. The world is too complex for normal people to exist, and that is not a tragedy, it is a gift. Ultimately, Carlin's message about the non-existence of normal people is a celebration of individuality. By understanding that no one is truly normal, we can release the fear of judgment and embrace our authentic selves. Each person's thoughts, experiences, and quirks contribute to a tapestry of uniqueness that cannot and should not be replicated. Carlin's philosophy is liberating. It encourages us to reject societal pressures, question arbitrary rules, and define our own standards for living. In relationships, creativity, and personal growth, embracing individuality leads to deeper connections, more innovative thinking, and a richer, more fulfilling life. The world becomes a more vibrant place when people stop trying to conform and start embracing their natural inclinations, curiosities, and peculiarities. By highlighting the futility of normality, Carlin also underscores the importance of self-acceptance. Our flaws, eccentricities, and contradictions are not weaknesses. They are the essence of our humanity. Imagine a society where people were free to be fully themselves, without masks or pretenses. Carlin suggests this is not only possible but necessary for human flourishing. Normality is not a goal, it is an illusion that obscures the beauty of individuality. Carlin's insight remains timeless. The absence of normal people is not a deficiency, but a testament to the richness, unpredictability, and limitless potential inherent in every human being. To live fully, we must embrace our own uniqueness, celebrate the oddities of others, and recognize that the chaotic, contradictory, and wonderfully unconventional nature of humanity is what makes life worth living. Once we accept that normal people don't exist, a remarkable freedom emerges. A freedom to define ourselves on our own terms, rather than letting arbitrary social standards dictate who we should be. Carlin highlighted how much energy humans waste trying to fit into molds designed by others, comparing it to running on a treadmill going nowhere. The irony is that the more we chase normality, the further we move away from authenticity. Every individual possesses a unique combination of traits, experiences, beliefs, and instincts, making it impossible to conform fully to any preconceived standard. Social pressures, family expectations, peer judgment, cultural norms, professional benchmarks often create a tension between who we are and who society wants us to be. Carlin's commentary exposes this as a universal struggle. The pursuit of normality is inherently absurd because it ignores the most fundamental truth of human existence. We are all inherently irregular, unpredictable, and beautifully inconsistent. By rejecting this pursuit, we stop measuring ourselves against others and instead focus on cultivating our unique strengths, passions, and perspectives. In practical terms, this might mean pursuing unconventional careers, expressing ideas that challenge the mainstream, or simply embracing quirks that were previously hidden out of fear of judgment. It is in this space, outside the confines of social definitions of normal, that creativity, innovation, and genuine self-expression flourish. Carlin's perspective encourages a mindset shift, to see society's obsession with normality not as a rule book to follow, but as a backdrop against which individuality shines brightest. When we finally break free from the myth of normal, life becomes a playground of endless possibilities, where authenticity, originality, and eccentricity are celebrated instead of suppressed. Ultimately, Carlin's reflections on the non-existence of normal people are a call to embrace the chaos, contradictions, and eccentricities that make us human. Normality, as he argued, is a socially constructed illusion, a comforting story that allows people to pretend that life and human behavior can be predictable, orderly, and safe. But anyone who examines reality closely sees the truth. Humans are messy, irrational, paradoxical, and endlessly fascinating. Every person carries within them an intricate blend of fears, desires, thoughts, and behaviors that defy simple classification. The so-called normal person is a mirage. What exists instead is an infinite spectrum of individuality. Carlin's humor underscores this truth while also inviting us to laugh at our own quirks and the absurdity of trying to conform. By celebrating human uniqueness instead of fearing deviation, we cultivate a society that values authenticity over conformity, creativity over compliance, and self-expression over uniformity. This perspective transforms how we interact with others. Rather than judging or categorizing people based on arbitrary standards, we begin to appreciate the rich complexity in everyone around us. The world, viewed through Carlin's lens, becomes infinitely more interesting, engaging, and meaningful because everyone brings something unpredictable, original, and valuable to the table. In a sense, the non-existence of normal people is not a problem to fix. It is a gift to embrace. Life becomes more colorful, relationships more genuine, and experiences more enriching when we accept that every human being is a one-of-a-kind mosaic of traits, quirks, and perspectives. Carlin's enduring message is clear. The myth of normality should be discarded, and in its place, we must celebrate the eccentric, unpredictable, and beautifully unique reality of human existence.